Welcome, Professor Pillai.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening to all. I am H.S. Siddhamalaya. I am retired librarian from NIMHANS. I welcome you all. Is it audible?
Yes, it is audible, sir.
And I welcome you all and also last 4 days we were bugged up with the data in a magic box of informatics to drive the science, to drive the society, to drive health, to drive almost all the subjects now for a deep understanding of all the subjects, including research, including learning, including society. The data is becoming an important ingredient, and also it is driven by the data. Last 4 days, we are lucky enough to listen to all that, how best we can understand ourselves with the big data and other data. And today's chief guest is Professor V.N. Rajshekaran Pillai, who was known more as a UGC Vice Chairman and UGC Chairman, as well as he was the Vice Chancellor of 4 universities, and also he was the Director of NAC. Such an highest accomplishment Professor has got. It is not just his post, highest post. He is also known for a good research, known as a good researcher, good educationist. He was also driving many people for a good research mindset. Actually, he has guided more than 50 doctoral and postdoctoral researchers, and he is a fellow of Indian Academy, and also he is a highly cited researcher in the field of chemistry. And we are really feeling great for his acceptance as a chief guest of this particular occasion. And as this is a concluding session, not for the topic, it is the concluding session of the event. But this particular conclave is creating a community of data science researchers, data science professionals, and also the collaboration to be established with private to private and private to government, all those things. This is triggering an idea to go in for a good collaborations across all the sectors. And also I welcome the juries. That is Dr. Rama Patnaik, who is taken over from Anand to chair this particular jury. And I also invite Dr. Anand, the ASC. I invite Dr. Gowder, NAL senior scientist, retired, and Dr. Gopakumar from Goa University, and Dr. Sri Kumar from Geo University, who is in IIM Kozhikode. Also, I invite Professor Shalini as a program director, whether we were there in the session or not, but she was there from the day one and the minute from the start till now. It was a fantastic coordination by Professor Shalini for the last 4 days entirely. Really great of you, madam, and we welcome you. And I welcome Dr. Satyanarayan, who is behind all these conclaves since many years, but this year it has shifted from the face-to-face to the virtual one, and really steered well, and he has used all his gray matter to bring in a certain innovative way to this particular conclave. And I invite all core committee members, I invite all the participants of this one, and I invite one and all for this particular conclave. With this invitation, I request Dr. Rama Patnaik to talk about the Innovation Award and to start.
Okay, thank you, Professor Siddhamalaya, sir. Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you to this much awaited segment of the conclave. So actually, as I'm doing proxy for Dr. Anand, who is the chairperson of this committee for awarding the Innovation Awards. So it is my privilege and honor to chair this session, which is jointly organized by Informatics in collaboration with NIAS, Rajiv Gandhi Health University, CSIR, Fourth Paradigm Institute. So at this moment, I think I'm a little tempted to take a line from the famous song by Paul Simon, which says that nothing is different, but everything has changed. I think that aptly suits the concept of innovation, which I think it's a buzzword, it is overused, it is not cliched at all. I think everything we do has always brought up a positive change in your lives. So what is static probably is our engagement with the user community, but the methods, the process, or the quality of interactions evolves and continues to change forever. So innovation, as I said, maybe in its simplest term, is about an idea, about a method, about a device. And it's not only about technology, but technology is a great enabler and acts as a catalyst for any of the decision or any of the processes that we evolve to improve our interaction with the users. And overall, innovation has its importance because it brings up a very positive change. And having said that, I don't think library professionals are a risk aversive or slow moving profession. We all have the capability of doing something different in our own day-to-day life, and occasionally have the ability to what you call is moving mountains as well. So in spite of the challenges of budgetary cuts, the staff issues, or the multifold obstacles, we continue to innovate or evolve our processes in fulfilling our mission to create a positive impact about our a positive experience about our ability to fulfill the mission of our institutes. So the innovation, as I said, this award embraces everything. I think Informatics in its first annual conclave was awarding the COHA Best Implemented Institutions. And I think 2 years they have tried with this. And they shifted over to awarding the best technology-enabled library. I think for 2 years that was awarded. And in its 5th edition, I think, as Satya has at a short while ago was mentioning when I was having a conversation with him, that the awards are evolving. Now this year, they have introduced this best innovation. They wanted to actually recognize the best innovation attempts in the libraries. So I hope this sustains for a long time to come. This year, to be fair to all the institutions, I think 2 categories were introduced. One is for universities, research institutes offering PhDs and postdoctoral courses, and the second consists of the colleges and public libraries, and also the engineering and colleges which are also offering the undergraduate bachelor degree, especially in science, commerce, arts, and humanities. So without taking much time, I think I want to speak about Anand, who was actually the chief architect of the entire evaluation criteria, and with the aid of course, the jury members, but it was all mooted and conceived everything, the evaluation criteria, by Dr. Anand. And today, unfortunately, he's not amongst us because of some official exigencies. I have the honor of introducing the other jury members of this award. To begin with, Dr. INR Gaudar, who is a senior scientist, ICAST, National Aerospace Lab. I hope he is with us here. He is also adjunct professor Mangalore University, and he was visiting professor and advisor for Mysore University. We have Dr. M.G. Srikumar, who is he was a chief librarian of IIM Kozhikode, and now director of Geo Institute, director of libraries of Geo Institute. And Dr. Gopakumar is a university librarian, University of Goa. So as the evaluation criteria is shared in public domain, and you might have seen that each of these labels are self-explanatory and are more granular with additional components. Actually, that helped us, the committee, to evaluate and have some kind of guideline going through the extensive documentation and the links that are submitted along with the nominations. So if you take, for instance, the first novelty, you can see that there are 4 additional components, whether the innovation or the decision or the idea was, for in-house or, for external users also. So for each of these components, the sub-components are to ensure that, the evaluation is more transparent and just as far as the scoring is concerned. So the committee, with all these parameters, have scored, given the scorings. But in this session, what we are also looking at is, apart from the scores that were assigned by us, on the basis of which actually 5 institutions were shortlisted. I am told that one of the institution is not participating with this nomination. So each of these institutions were asked to, send their nomination for 3 best innovations. And out of those 3, we have chosen, I think, for 5. In that 5, the Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani, for their nomination is titled as Innovation Zone and Makerspace. And the second one is Gulbarga University, that is on open air green library with Wi-Fi and Kindle-based collection. Actually, these 2 are with the category of universities. As I said, there are 2 categories. One is for universities and another is for the colleges. And in the college category, apart from Birla Institute of Science and Technology, we have Gulbarga University. And in the colleges category, we have Sri Aurobindo College affiliated to University of Delhi. This is about their e-library and the website. And the last but not least is the Gayatri Vidya Parishad College of Engineering, where they will be presenting about the development of mobile application for remote locations. So, so on the basis of the scoring, I think these 4 were 5 were shortlisted. So 4 are participating today. So each of these contestant will be given, I think, 7 minutes of time to present about their innovation. And during this presentation, the polling also will open up for the audience. So you audience can actually look at in that, the chat box where the link will be posted, where you can cast your votes on the Likert scale of 1 to 5, 5 being is the maximum score. So these 2 scores again will add up after the presentations, and the winner will be announced after all these deliberations are over. So to confirm the participation of the institutions, I would just like to have a confirmation from them. BITS Pilani is represented by
Giridhar.
Dr. Giridhar Kunnur, and Gulbarga University is represented by
Dr. Suresh Jange.
Dr. Suresh Jange, and Sri Aurobindo College from the college segment category is represented by
Dr. Shalini Agarwal.
Dr. Shalini Agarwal, and Gayatri Vidya Parishad is represented by
Ravi.
Ravi. Yeah. So to begin with, I think I have clarified on how the presentation should go. Each one of you would be given 7 minutes to present, and there is again scoring for the presentation and also the audience poll. So we will add up all the average score of the audience poll and also the scores that are given by the jury members. And the audience poll again, they have to look in the chat box, and I think Devender, you have to say something at this stage.
Yeah, the link will not be there in the chat box. The polling will appear on their screen directly. They have to just click and submit. That's it.
Okay, so and, that they will be given that score of 1 to 5. In that 1 to
it has been changed to 1 to 10.
1 to 10. Okay.
That becomes convenient.
Okay, 10 being the highest.
1 is lowest and 10 is highest.
10 is the highest.
Yeah,
okay, so if we can begin the presentations, can we call upon Dr. Girish in that alphabet? Sorry, Dr. Giridhar, I'm so sorry. Dr. Giridhar from BITS Pilani to start his presentation. And I request all the jury members also to be available with their scorings, and also the audience take this opportunity to post your votes. So over to Dr. Giridhar.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You have 7 minutes.
Okay. First, at the very outset, I would like to thank the organizers of LTC 2021 and also the respected jury members for of Informatics Innovation Awards for shortlisting BITS Pilani Library to make a presentation today. And it's indeed a great honor for us. And without further ado, I would like to, it is my privilege to make a presentation on Innovation Zone and Makerspace. It is a collaborative space where students, research scholars, and faculty members work on innovative projects and churn out solutions to different problems. And it is managed by BITS Pilani Library. It provides access to resources which aid in design, prototyping, and realization of solutions. And it gives enough freedom to explore and experiment out of the box ideas in real time and facilitates the collaboration with other like-minded students and faculty to work on projects and create products.
Sridhar, can you be a little more louder?
Yeah. Am I audible now enough?
You're audible.
Okay.
Yes.
So products which have importance on different levels, and the idea of setting up of separate innovation zone and maker space at BITS Pilani Library emerged as a result of a series of brainstorming session with faculty members, research scholars, and students on several occasions. The main objective was to bridge the gap between the theoretical education and practical applications. The only prerequisite to use this space is a strong desire to learn and create. This facility actually aims at serving as a working ground for independent projects, as you can see here as some examples. Using this space, students have worked on smart campus programs, including 3D printed biometric face recognition application, which is used for marking attendance. And also they have developed projects from electronic waste, in the campus, and also worked on sustainable solutions to water scarcity problems and developed prototypes on rainwater harvesting, so on and so forth. This space has been created as a separate and well-furnished section in the library with access to the state-of-the-art resource, which consists of 3D printers, high-performance computers, sensors, and electronic hardware devices, and such as Raspberry Pi 4, Arduino kits, and so many IoTs that we have added to the collection of makerspace, which students can use to work on their projects. And all these electronic resources are made available through the library OPAC. As you can see here, a separate category has been created under makerspaces on the library Koha catalog platform, where students can access these electronic resources. Just like they can borrow books, they can borrow these electronic resources. And very well-trained library staff, they handle the circulation of electronic resources very carefully and diligently. And the Innovation Zone also provides access to various software packages which are listed down here. And they are used for various simulation activities, including designing activities such as mechanical, electrical designing, and other activities which are listed under types. You can see there. And also the use of the resources by the students is very well tracked with the help of interactive library portals booking system. This is the interactive library portal which allows students to book either, say, for example, 3D printer or high performance computer. And it also tells them exactly as to how to use the space and also the rules and regulations that go with the space. A nominal fee has been stipulated for the users to use 3D printer and the use of consumable material such as filament, and also other like 3D printers to make the space as self-sustained. As you can see here, different charges have been stipulated for using filament as well as 3D printing as a part of the library portal. It is just to ensure that they use it for some useful purpose, from purposeful activities and things like that. Talking about the team, it was, I'm talking about the conceptualization of the entire space, and implementation of innovation and makerspace was spearheaded by the librarian supported by the deputy librarians and faculty members and Teams Rishtara, which is a creative students club constituted by the library consisting of 15 students from various disciplines who are responsible for management of the innovation zone and makerspace in collaboration with incubation cell at BITS Pilani, which is called PIEDS. And what you see on the right hand side is the logo of Srishtara. Srishtara means creator in Sanskrit. Talking about the novelty of this space is that it serves as a center of collaboration and creation amongst very few library maker spaces in India, and it provides all the necessary resources and supports so as to cultivate the change makers. Coming to the practicality and feasibility of the space, this space has actually received with overwhelming enthusiasm and positive feedback from the students community, and a series of workshops have been conducted on how to use 3D printing and how to use simulation software in order to create awareness and engage students community and also the library staff. So as we keep on adding more and more equipment, it is expected to make sure that the large number of students will benefit from the same. Lastly, talking about the impact, a tremendous impact on the students from all branches of study has been observed, including the startups and those who are working in incubation centers, and also the students who participate in various national and international competitions. And this has also created a community where the students actually collaborate, exchange ideas, explore novel technology and things, and work on innovative projects. And therefore, this facility in the library has brought out a maker in every student. It was also presented during BioSummit, as you can see here, which was an international conference organized by MIT Media Lab USA by the Srishtara team. You can see here on the top the snapshot of the Srishtara team member making a presentation during MIT Lab Global Community BioSummit in USA just about 5-6 months back. So that's all I wanted to talk about the impact, and if there are any questions, I shall be more than happy to handle it. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
Chairperson, can I have a question with him?
Yes.
How far it is a self-sustainable system?
See, we do not claim that whatever we have invested in the facility can be recovered. That's not the idea here, because what we are trying to recover here is only the consumables like filaments, and also the time it takes for somebody to say print the 3D objects. There is a lot of time and efforts goes behind there, and also the staff involvement and all that. So for such activities, we are trying to recover the cost so that we use the same whatever we generate out of small revenue to reinvest in the same space.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I have a question, if
Yes.
I may ask.
Can you please introduce yourself? May I know who?
Sorry, I'm Rama.
Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
I wanted to ask you how you are capturing the footfalls and maintaining the data of its usage.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Actually, we have developed a very interactive library portal, and every time whoever wants to use this innovation and makerspace areas, they have to individually book it online in the library. Okay, so the interactive library portal captures every single record of who is using what facility, what simulation software, what designing software and things like that, and also some innovative projects that they work using different the facilities that are provided in the innovation zone. And the back end, as administrators, we can generate the complete list of, who is using what and how many for what purpose, and what is the outcome of it. They have to submit their form before using it. So that way, actually, we have a full control of the entire system.
So apart from footfalls, are you undertaking any qualitative surveys to understand the utility of the facility?
Oh yeah, actually, a qualitative survey is an ongoing process actually with us. Even that is also through the library portal. We conduct a lot of feedback on the every service that we do, associated not only with this zone particularly, but any other similar activities that we have, where we are having a collaborative activities with the students and faculty. There is a online capturing of feedback from the participants, from all the the entire community. I'm talking about faculty, research scholars, and students. They can talk about good, bad, ugly about the system.
Okay, if there are no more questions, can we? Devinder, is the audience poll is on?
Hello.
No, I will do that now.
Hello,
Girdhar sir,
Dr.
could you
Rama.
please unshare it?
Okay, surely I'll unshare this.
Now this audience poll will be launched the moment Girdhar sir stops his screen share. And the audience poll will be for 1 minute. Okay. And the audience poll starts now. I hope it is appearing.
Yeah, it appears. So
Yeah, perfect. Okay. I can see that voting is going on.
so so this is open for 1 minute.
Yes, yes. In the meanwhile, the second presenter can be ready.
Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Rama.
30 seconds over.
Yeah.
Actually, question is by only juries, not from all the participants.
Okay.
Only juries can ask,
Okay. Okay.
because we don't have much time for that.
15 seconds to go to end the polling. Those even panelists side can also do that.
Cannot vote. Host and panelist cannot vote, it says.
Yes, yes. Now it is ended.
Okay, so can we invite the second, nomination, Dr. Suresh? Over to you.
Yeah. Very good evening to all of you. At the outset, I acknowledge with a high sense of gratitude for making me a part of this great event and giving us an opportunity to showcase our innovation to the society at large. So my innovation is on open air green library, which has been implemented in Gulbarga University Library just 8 months back. Ladies and gentlemen, Go Green has been the slogan of the 21st century, especially in the wake of global warming and climatic change. And so the libraries are also very passionate to develop and implement the concept of a green library for the benefit of academic and research community, demonstrating the social responsibility of libraries as the leaders in the environmental sustainability. In this context, the Gulbarga University Library has made a sincere attempt to make the best use of the spaces, library spaces in and around the library, and making it optimum utilization, so that the concept of reading culture, and we try to make effort to promote the reading culture and the reading habit within the library premises by making the optimum use of the library spaces. You see, the university library, at the entrance of the library, especially the left side and the right side of the library, for the last 40 years of its establishment, the space was unutilized. See, on the left side of the main entrance of the library, it was 11,000 square feet. On the right side of our library, it was a 13,000 square feet area, which was unused for the last 40 years of its establishment. And it was just a place for, say, it was a dumping or something, which was very unused. And we, the library professionals working in the library, felt something has to be done so that this becomes a place for reading, especially among the students and the research scholars. The reason, why this concept of a green library becomes very dominant, especially in this Gulbarga University, is that, as we know that, the monsoons in the entire world, there are 3 monsoons: rainy season, winter season, and a summer season. But in Gulbarga University, especially in Gulbarga, being a hotter, we can say the two major monsoon. One is a peak summer and another is a less summer. Okay, it is mainly a hot places, wherein this concept of a green library becomes very imminent and very relevant. Of course, if at all the same thing is being done by a Bangalore or a Mangalore or any other Dharwad, so it's okay, not an issue. But the doing this sort of a thing at a Gulbarga University Library, that too in a very hot places, so that's an open air green library. So this plays very important. And another important factor, which has was the greatest challenge for us is the finance. You see, we are working in the state university setup, and this state university, we have limitations of the fund. See, suppose if at all we plan to make a beautiful green library in and around the main campus, then we need at least the 9 lakh as per the estimate. And for that, the fund was not there. We thought it appropriate and made a research proposal and submitted the project proposal to the Government of India, Government of Karnataka, that is the Kalyana Karnataka Regional Development Board, asking for the fund. So when you submitted, they said, why are you not making use of the fund available with your own university? See, we are working in the limitations. There are so many other priorities are available. Somehow we could convince the authorities and we could get our project sanctioned, and we got 9 lakh for that. And within that, we have made an attempt to build this sort of a green library within the in and around the main entrance of the library. So here, see, what we have done is like it's a beautifully architecturally planned. There are 7 circular platforms are available, and there are 20 extending chairs are put up, which you can show on the screen, which you can see on the screen. It's a totally built up area of 23,000 square feet. See, and the impact, that we can see, it is not just a green library, it's not just a garden, but more importantly, it's a place, it's a happening place for our users, especially, see, now what happens, in the state university library, normally we don't allow our users to enter into the library by bringing their own personal collection. Personal books are not allowed to enter into the library. It means we will not allow the users to carry their own personal book. I think this is a funda. This is a place, where they can come comfortably and with their own collections they can read. So that's a self-study concept can be built up here. It is not just a green library, and we have made a provision for Wi-Fi access. And here, the moment the student enters into the area, the Wi-Fi connectivity gets hooked. And because of this one, definitely he is able to access the electronic resources which are under IP enabled, the question papers or a QR code. So all these things are made available the moment he is there within that particular area. And more importantly, the Kindle. the Kindle, of course, may be an older concept, but for us, it's a newer concept. We have a 15 tabs which we have got it for the library, and we have taken only one Kindle subscription. That is a Kindle Unlimited by paying only rupees 1,799, means less than 1,800. Within that single subscription, the students, we have also given an orientation how to download in case if they are having a smart app, they have to download the Kindle app from their Play Store and use it. Not only that, the National Digital Library of India or E-Sarvajanika Granthalaya, there are so many mobile apps which we have trained them to use it. So these things, they are doing it in that particular Green Library. More than that, it happens to be academic discussions. And one important thing which we see quite means excellent feedback that we get is, in the morning hours, maybe it starts from 5:30. Most of the joggers, they come into the Green Library, they make a jogging. Means it has become a healthy fitness center also. Not only just for reading, not only for social reading, even for a gym, just like, healthy fitness, they do yoga in that particular places and it is being utilized. Of course, this is only a small attempt, but it plays a very important role in the concept of a state university library, okay, in the environment where we work. So these sort of things becomes very innovative, and we have made an attempt to build the reading culture among the students and the research scholars and the faculty members to some extent. Of course, it is definitely going to be sustainable, because we have our own garden workers to maintain, to develop a greenery. And normally what happens, in the setup like where we work, so there are normally the comments will be there, what is this Green Library? So it is a garden, yeah. What is so special that we have done? What is so innovative that we have done? See, the thing is, we have to make a very good beginning. We have to start somewhere innovation. If our users are happy with what we have done, let us not care for the certification from the people who are a negative mind. We have made a good initiation, the things are on, and it is being optimally utilized, not only for a reading culture or accessing a tabs or whatsoever, but also for a social gathering also that is being utilized. It's an academic, a social, and so somehow when you enter into before entering into the library, you will find there are a lot of people sitting at the left side and the right side. So which shows that, wow, that sort of an image that we are trying to build, and trying to build the culture of a reading culture, maybe a printed book or a tab, whatsoever. So this is what I wanted to present within the limitation of the system. Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. Suresh, it's a good idea.
Yes,
Other than Wi-Fi access and Kindle, what is the other technology innovation that you have in this? This is a common ecologically.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that type of a situation you have made. Good it is, but
Yes.
here we are talking about technology innovation. So excluding Wi-Fi and Kindle, what other technology innovation you have brought in here?
Sir, to begin with, because our the user community in our region, so they are all, we have to train them in the IT enabled access. Okay, so here we are, when we are providing, we are providing a lot of the Kindle tabs, and if any user wanted, we'll make a provision to lend that one, and they can read in that. So even some of the students, the faculty are having their own smartphone also. We are trying to assist them to download the app, mobile applications, especially like National Digital Library of India, or Kindle apps, or E-Sarvajanika Granthalaya, which is very popular in our region under COVID. So these small things which we are trying to do it and implement in our concept, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Emma, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead, Sri Kumar.
Thanks. Dr. Suresh, it was interesting to see your innovations. I have a question. What is your sustainability model? And also, what are your future plans?
Sir, definitely the sustainability will be there, because we have a dedicated manpower. Especially it requires a specialized person who can manage gardening the things. So we have a garden worker, and we have our own supporting staff who are proficient in handling the gardening work. They will maintain it very properly. Okay, as far as technology is concerned, we have made a very good beginning. Maybe it looks like the small thing for others, but the environment, the state setup where I am residing, it is something bigger for our sake, sir. So it is definitely going to sustain in the coming future, and definitely by looking at the different technological developments and looking at the different libraries, we will in future try to imbibe the best part of the technology that could be done in our green library, sir.
All right, thank you.
So I have a question, Dr. Suresh. This is Rama.
Oh, yes.
You said that you are issuing the Kindles, but in the picture it is shown as something being fixed to the table. So are they fixed to the table, or are you also lending the Kindle devices in that open air? If you are actually lending the Kindle devices in that open air, how you are ensuring their security? And number one. Number two, you said that the Kindle-based collection is also open to them. So if you are actually buying the collections, usually they will be restrictive to only 4 devices simultaneously. So how you are distributing the access in case of excessive demand for a specific title?
Madam, as I said, it is just a 8 months baby of the Green Library. We have a 15 tabs to begin with. And we have it's not a fixed one, because here under the security theft control, we have kept in the table, it is in the room, not in the Green Library. Okay, and we have made a provision whoever wanted. Okay, because just 5 tabs, totally 15 are there. So 5 tabs we wanted to lend it to our students based upon their ID card. Okay, so that is our plan, and that's how things are working here.
Okay, thank you. Let me make very clear during these presentations that only the juries can ask the questions. So the audience can only vote for the presentation. So I want to clarify this again and again. So any of other jury member who have a question can ask now. Dr. Gowder?
No question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suresh. So you can, stop sharing your screen so that the audience poll will be up. So Devender, can you open the poll?
Yes. Let me set the clock also. Clock is set for 1 minute now, and the polling is launched now.
Okay, so it is launched to the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest score. So please note that 10 is the highest score. It is not the rank 1 to 10, it is 10 being the highest score. So please cast your votes as early as possible, because this is open only for a minute.
Second over. Hurry up. It's 50 seconds now. 10 seconds left. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it is ending.
So thank you, Devender. So can we proceed to our next presenter, please? And this is in the category of colleges and those who are offering even undergrads, colleges and schools. So in this segment, I think the first presenter would be Sri Aurobindo College, affiliated to Delhi University. So can we have the presenter on screen, please? So Dr. Shalini?
Yes, ma'am.
So you are there? Yeah,
Yes,
please share your presentation, and you have 7 minutes to give your presentation.
Honorable members, panelists, and dear colleagues and friends, a very good evening to all of you. myself, Dr. Shalini Agrawal, wanting to present my side of case study on the e-library participation at Sri Aurobindo College morning at University of Delhi. Just as the theme of the conference come conclave has been there, it simply says, let's e-library as e-science empowers the e-brary. During the COVID-19 learning times, we had a tough time when we had been locked down at homes. And during that time, a routine library task and the routine library functions for the reading community, especially our users and patrons, when we want to reach to them, it comes as e-library. The e-library concept has been a novel conceptualization to be talking about. We can say that it's a collection of active e-science-based internet collaborating techniques to web linking of online resources, connecting the created digital, that is print to electronic versions of the existing physical world resources to their electronically accessible variations, be linked or subscribed or be collaborated under one roof as a speedy solution to be presented to one and all, whether at homes or anywhere around the world. Simply speaking, when it's absentia of the physical world of the newspapers or the magazines during the pandemic times as e-papers or e-zines. It can be differentiated at the levels of different users community. It might be differentiated when it comes to the student as simply reading of the newspapers, simply reading of the daily based journals, or simply the magazines, or it can be the research zones for the soft zones availability of the software for the researchers, for example, the Turnitin. It could be the plagiarism softwares, Urkund, and other accessible resources which had been subscribed in the day routine of the physically existing library. And it had been to a need-based use access, which had been differentiated for the disabled, especially the visually impacted ones, where we had the Braille library presented on the e-portal through the college website, parting their needs as either the software, for example, the JAWS, or simply speaking, the NVDA. It was also available as the hearing impaired audiobooks just by the single click on the mouse. The basic aim of the e-library was to empower the unreached academic community as either the individual self, where they can all create their respective e-library portal as an academic community of a particular subject, of a particular discipline, or simply stating a group study. Basically speaking, it's a small, innovative digital technology initiative. So it can be reached or built via respective institutions' librarian efforts, and to be speaking in short, a universal, ubiquitous solution with approach of minimal cost incur basis. Finally speaking, I would like to say that this e-library function has taught us during the pandemic times as the laws of e-library in 2020. First of all, an e-library, or simply speaking, an e-brary is its connected links are for the use by the academicians for all its e-resources, which are available on the internet as a function of e-science, collaborating the communities through the digital technological applications for the academicians on the whole. Second law says every academician has to have his or her own personally possessed e-library because of the large number of the e-resources and the web presence available at large to tap through the internet, doubling every minute, every hour, or every second. Every e-library be accessible to their respective intended academic user on the restore basis, where, as per the need and the shuffling syllabuses and the suffering community-based, it can be created and reimposed. Fourth law says e-library is the speedy solution which not just saves the time, but also the efforts, space, and the collaboration of its intended academic user. An e-library concept is an evolving library kind online entity as an organism for one and large. So finally saying tools of the e-library are computerized techniques for tuning the digital world technologies as its mouth organ or the harmonica. Thank you.
Dr. Shalini, we were expecting the presentation of your specific innovation. That was not there, first of all.
Sir, that is the first slide in itself has been depicting the resources at Sri Aurobindo College Morning Library, where all the e-library functions are there. As a substitute, the e-resources, then the virtual learning sources. It's actually a full portal created, and that is then collaborated to the college website.
Okay.
Just
one more question. Yeah, I understood it. Now, one more question is your tagline is e-science empowers e-brary. Actually,
Yes.
it's the other way. E-brary empowers e-science. Is it not?
So, to be simply speaking, e-science is the concept which gives rise to e-brary, because e-science can be a part of grid computing. It's an umbrella term for the internet-based technologies which are being harnessed for the creation of the e-library, electronic library in short.
Anyway, I have apprehensions. Let others ask.
I have a question, Dr. Shalini.
Yes,
You have mentioned that you have created, one-stop portal for accessing the e-resources, if I'm not wrong. That is what your slide says. Am I
yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So in this, you are saying that all the content, electronic content, what was subscribed or having the collection in your library, they have been organized into a single portal and the users can access. You said that your library was closed during the pandemic, and this sort of the website, I think the website helped you to reach out to your users.
Yes,
So is that true?
Yes, it is true, because it was specifically created during the pandemics, just overnight, because it was thought that if the lockdown is to initiate, so how my users would be accessing the newspapers, and myself too had a good time with the e-papers being present online when there was no newspapers physically available at the doorsteps. So the e-papers were very much working, and all the news were there on the e-papers, as the portal says, newspapers at SACM.
You also claimed to have used WordPress for creating this portal. Am I right?
Ma'am, that is the second part. The WordPress also represented the section of the e-library at large, not just for my college users. For example, we had put up the question papers of the previous years for the students to be there at the OB examination, the online book examination, which was held. And not just our college students or the faculty could be accessing, it was intended for the other users at large around the globe.
So is it an independent site or it is linked to your college website?
Ma'am, this is the both linked to the college website as well as to the independent library WordPress.com.
And the other question I wanted to ask is, since lockdown, people were not able to access, you have any proxy server to allow access to these resources, or is it just made up of free resources that are available in public domain?
Ma'am, it is available with the proxy servers as well, because largely at the Delhi University library system, we had the VZ proxy, and that was also attached to this. Like under one umbrella roof, we had the collaboration from the main university library, as well as all the instructions from the college library, and plus all the resources that used to be physically present in the college library. We had the digital version of the same available through this portal, so that the students shouldn't feel bad that they are not able to access the
You are getting the resources through Delhi University.
That is also there. That A to Z list on the December 2009 DULS access. That too we had put up here.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll just ask other panelists, other jury members to ask the question.
Dr. Shalini, a very good initiative, appreciated. I'd like to know what kind of information retrieval algorithms, tools, techniques you are using rather than just browsing and using the titles.
So algorithm tools techniques are simply the bookmarking techniques, kind of the ICT interventions, which are part of the IT as well. And this is basically an initiative, so that just because it is not just my part, for example, if the academic community wants to tap the e-science, so for the digital technology harnessing, the individual academic community, the subject-based teachers and the students and the pupils can too be taught this technique, so that they could have a small e-portal for their own self kind of the discipline.
That I agree. There's no doubt about that. The portal is fantastic, looking all right. But my question is, what kind of retrieval query-based systems are available? Like, do you have a web scale
So
discovery
the
service?
usage, so kind of the usage was there. For example, we had an IQC cell, and after the pandemic was a little unlocked, so we had the students rush at the physically venturing the library, and we had to talk with them. We had a feedback from them, from the
Agreed,
teachers, from the
agreed,
faculty.
Dr. Shalini, I agree. But you see, the system, the complexity of the system is that these are all scattered and distributed. Do you agree or what?
So these are individual. These are built
That's what
upon
I'm
all the
saying.
resources.
These are individual. You have taken the extra mile walking of collecting, collating, and putting together in a portal. Well appreciated. My question is, if a person wants to use, use all these systems together, it will be good if you can have a single search mechanism. Has it been implemented or not? Or you are thinking of doing that later?
So as a single search, we are trying for the institutional repository of the DSpace based one. That is another in the pipeline where the ebooks too will be available.
That may not work out for distributed e-resources.
So because this is just as the e-resources at the DLS, we had a single portal e-library on the top of the college website. From that access, a deeper access could be individually had. But otherwise, we are trying on the pipeline for the institutional repository to be there, DSpace based.
That institutional repository in DSpace and those things are very good. But if you want to use this, optimally use this, I would request you to look for a web scale discovery service implementation, right? There are
so, but that's a federated search. I mean, a collaboration e-library. Again, we had this as a representative. I can be representing sir here. That e-library is on the college website representing just a single flag. There's a single flag. It is representing that we can have the access from that based.
My question is, if I am looking for a particular subject, will it penetrate through different distributed databases?
So that is not the distributed databases. That is already the database is marked as the subject base, but not here because this is a part of the library resources which are there at the college, and we are reaching it home, not just for the subject basis.
Now I have one question. You are from the library fraternity, or you are from the you are as professor in the...
So I'm from the library community.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Shalini.
Yes, sir.
Although college level, good initiative, but just now that Sri Kumar mentioned about the web scale discovery, that sort of things would be much more useful. By
so
the
again,
way, wait, let me complete. That is, when you implement web scale services, that will facilitate searching both in-house resources as well as our subscribed sources. That's what is going to be much more useful. Anyway, doesn't matter. Do you have access to Enlist?
So Enlist access is also there. Partly it is not available because of the it is in the subscribed module. So whenever the user asks for the password, we do furnish the same. But the Enlist is common for all the faculty and the students and the staff, just as the NORER and the NDLI. 3-4 subscribed sources are also there, which are listed on another tab, stating that the resources, subscribed resources.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, I think we have all the questions. You will take up these suggestions. One is of having a single search platform. There are many open source, solutions for having this, whether it is a federated search or whether it is a web scale discovery service. Because, just compiling will confuse the users which resource to search for. And apart from, the listing, you could probably give a small description about the resource and also a handout probably as to how a layperson when first time logging into a portal would be able to search the interface. So probably you could take all these inputs from the jury members and enhance it further. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Dr. Emma, just a second. I would also request Dr. Shalini to consider kind of a subject guide facility so that browsing can be even more
much more easier. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So you can look at the websites of various IIMs portals where we already develop a lot of subject guides because we
this was excuse me, can I just have a say?
Yeah.
Ma'am, this was actually thought of in mind as a simple web mobile version or the simple desktop services for the NAVE as well, because this is at the undergraduate level. And unless there's an orientation to other kind of web discovery services, that is not an easier taste for the students or a cup of tea. So just to keep in mind the simple NAVE student from a nook and corner from the remote far villages, we had just this development categorizing individual things into the minutely chosen ones. For example, the e-zines each had a different taste for the different subject ones. So it was very hand-pickedly chosen and then put up here so that the students at ease level can access it.
So have you compiled it on the basis of the subject when you are compiling the resources?
Yes, ma'am. For example, e-zines I had compiled for individual all the courses that are taught at our college. For individual subjects which are there, 16 subjects are there. For individual 16 subjects, we had chosen specifically which are the best suited as per the syllabi mentioned. And
So
even
this is,
from the
I'm not
syllabi.
talking about only the electronic content. So you may have print collection, you may have
So even that are
so
represented.
all that has to be pulled in one, and then the user when he or she goes to a subject has the choice of choosing which resource to consult. So
this is headline itself is specific for that. Once the student goes through the digging hyperlinking, so once the student clicks it, he or she will find it. They are specifically subject categorized.
These are also inclusive of the course materials or the reading list, the course packs that are compiled, the links to the course packs. So what Sri Kumar suggests is when you talk about a subject guide, that means on a specific topic, you pull up all resources and put it at one place. Of course,
resources too, and that within resources there are two categories like magazine, newspapers, and then again the journals, again social science, humanities, science ones, PLOS for example. So these are differently categorized but under the common zones. For example, one from the DULS and one from the college side. Again, they are categorized on the basis of the subject categories and the discipline categories. If it is only once we get the clicking done, then only we can realize, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shalini. And we now open up the voting. You have to stop sharing the screen. I request Devender of informatics to just open up the audience poll. You have to stop sharing the screen, Dr. Shalini.
Yes, ma'am.
Devender, quickly.
Yeah, I'll do that. Just a moment. Yeah, the polling is starting now. And it is for again 60 seconds and it starts now.
Yeah, you have the scoring from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Please note 10 being the highest. And you have this template is open only for a minute. I think already 10 seconds gone.
$40 seconds over. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and polling ends.
Okay, so thank you, Devender. So can we have the next presenter, please, Mr. Ravi from Gayatri Vidya Parishad. So Mr. Ravi, you have 7 minutes. Can we see Mr. Ravi on screen, please?
Good evening, madam. Good evening, everyone. I am Ravi from Gayatri Vidya Parishad College of Engineering, Visakhapatnam. It is a small initiative. I have developed a small app. During pandemic, we faced many problems to give access to all our students and the teaching community. So I would, with the support of my computer science and information technology students, we plan to develop a small app, that is the mobile app, to give access in the remote location. Right? Next slide. This we have connected it to the local server, the college server, where we have dumped all the data, including the previous question papers, the NPTEL lessons, everything that we have dumped there and connected it to the local server with the using the URL, with the local URL as I have done. Yeah, you can see this is my pack which you can access to MOOCs and all others, and I have made a Google Drive of all the ebooks, all of the question papers, etc. The next one is there we have selected, dumped all the previous question papers in a folder and made it available to Campus LAN and as well as in the next the Pro Engineers Hub website, where which we can access. And with that, I have found usage analysis increase, particularly the online journals where the students used the journals during the pandemic. And here again we are connected with my, and during this I wanted to tell you the students can come at any, need not come to the library. If they come, they will have only 4 to 5 physical hours, and online they can access anytime, all the time, available in the mobile app. You can access them, you can read them, and at the time cannot be defined. It may be more or any time. They can access from their home, in the bus, in the car, the mobile, anywhere. And there are some drawbacks in this app. Others may introduce, virus will come first, and other people who knows the IP may come and they have to have good security controls. So this is my small initiative. I have done it, and with this, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity.
So now the floor is open for questions by jury members. Any questions?
Mr. Ravi, is it an app developed by you or you took somebody's help?
I have taken the support of my students, of computer science and information technology students.
Okay, that means you have a data center in your institute which works 24/7.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, good idea. Go ahead.
Sri Ravi, I have a question. Is it an Android-based app, or can you just give some
At present, it is Android, and later we're trying to go for other versions so that we can access. Because many people are using Android only.
Absolutely. What are the kind of resources available from this? We can mention about the kind of books and journals and databases. Is it accessible?
We have linked it with our IP, which we have given to the journals, online journals, there, which I have shown in my analysis, all the e-journals, and then I have the question papers, then some PDF of my, which can be, I have downloaded through PDF. And
So
the
they
one
can, the users can have a remote login facility, yeah?
Yes.
So what software, I mean, what service you are using?
That I can't tell you, because with that the collaboration of my students I have done, I can tell you that.
Okay. Rama?
Yeah, Dr. Gowda, you have any question?
Yeah, I should compliment him. It's a new initiative beginning, but there is a long way to go.
Yeah.
If you keep up the motto and try to make it much more flexible, and try to cover more resources, and maybe you can also, if you are subscribing to Enlist, those resources also you can make it available through your app. It's a good idea, but as you rightly mentioned yourself, it's a beginning and you were very humble. I appreciate that. Good luck. It looks good, but still a long way to go to achieve the final goal. Thank you.
Sir, Enlist, then Infomnet and all my journals content are available through the URL. There we have seen the digital library. When I click it, all the IEEE and all, when I click them, that takes to the URL, which is all linked already.
Okay, good.
So I have one question. You also mentioned about a lot of security issues as far as the access is concerned.
Yeah.
Maybe I think as Dr. Gowder had put up, like it's still just a beginning, and probably you can progress into plugging in all those security loopholes and also getting an iPhone version. As I understand that this app is also open. Through this app, people can access resources from anywhere, not just connecting to the be physically present on the library network.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
So you are not sure what is being used for getting this proxy access, but they can access. The other question I have is, can they personalize the screen or the dashboard kind of thing if the app is it allows that kind of personalization of choosing the resources and viewing only what they would like to?
At present, we are it is doing, and we want to make it more elaborative so that they can do it freely. Present, we have done it only for the question papers and MOOCs, and we will be.
Is this developed by fourth year outgoing students, or the students who still have
third years and coming final years? Third years, that means the present final years.
So only the team members from that particular year. So if they pass out, you still are confident of having some kind of support to sustain this app?
Yeah, I am confident of my students. I can take the help of the juniors and go and continue for more than, because I have developed my library with the help of the students itself, which I am maintaining it from the last 10 years.
So very appreciative of your efforts. Thank you for participating in this contest. And please, you have to, stop sharing your screen.
No, 1 minute, Rama, 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
While I appreciate this initiative, you can also think of making it the app available for the other libraries. Maybe you can try to get some funding for making it a little more posh, a little more flexible, a little more easy to handle, etc. That would be a good thing if you can do that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay.
Try to approach some funding agencies.
Yeah. If it is more success, I will go for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very good, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, may I request Mr. Ravi to stop sharing the screen so that the audience poll can be switched on. Devendra?
Yeah, Mr. Ravi, please remove the screen share. Okay, thank you so much. Now, as mentioned by Dr. Rama earlier also, the polling is on the scale of 1 to 10. 1 is lowest and 10 is highest. And it starts now.
And it is open for 1 minute. So please cast your votes as early as possible.
Yes. $20 over. $40 over. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the polling ends here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Devendra. So we conclude the presentation part of it. And then we will work on the audience score, average of the audience score, and also the presentation score. So we take a break here and I hand over the proceedings to Dr. Siddamalaya, sir, and we will actually announce the awards. I request all the audience and the participants to be, continue, logging into the virtual conclave until we announce the awards after the valedictory address. So over to Dr. Siddamalaya, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rama and other jury members for the very good work, and also the compilation of all this voting and your personal scores has to be transmitted to the decision makers. And now it is a time to request our chief guest, Professor V.N. Rajshekhar Pillai. And even now he is a very good researcher. And though he is a very busy administrator as a vice chancellor of Somaiya Vidya Vihar University in Mumbai. Most important about our chief guest of the day, we feel proud, is that he is very good supporter of library and librarians. Sir, over to you, sir. Professor V.N.
Dr. Satyanarayana, Dr. Siddamalaya, Professor Shalini, my erstwhile colleagues in the library systems in the country, distinguished librarians, young librarians who presented the innovations in the library systems in the country. Of course, Dr. Satyanarayana, Dr. Siddamalaya, Professor Shalini, whom I know for several years now, right from my NAC days, I used to know them. And also distinguished librarians, whom I have been in touch with, many of them, and also the participants of this library conclave. Let me first of all thank the organizers for extending me an invitation to participate in the Library Technology Conclave 2021. I am glad to be with you all in this particular session on case studies on innovations in libraries, and also for giving the valedictory address. I understand that the theme of the year's conclave is e-science and digital libraries, building collaborative communities. That was the theme of the conference. I was also partly going through the program, the lectures by some of these eminent people who are working in the field. And I sincerely believe that this conference has been a big success. Let me congratulate first the young librarians who innovated in the university libraries and the college libraries, and also in the other different types of libraries in the country. Really, innovations have been happening in the library systems. I have been a teacher all through these 50 years. I have been a teacher. Probably maximum innovations in the university system occurred in the library part of it, whether it be right from the applying the classifications through the first computer and all that. Libraries in this country have been, innovating. I also take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. Satyanarayana for through the informatics, the technological capabilities and the collaborative capabilities you are providing for networking with librarians and providing opportunities for them to suggest. I don't want to make a big speech here. If you just look at the library innovations all over the world, you can see that the big data, the storage and analysis of large data can be a real advantage for libraries. Data is being created by anybody. It is not just from the researchers. It is not just from the empirical researchers or computational scientists. Data is available anywhere, right from the farmers, right from the ordinary people in the kitchen, everybody. Data is created, and this data, we all know that, is very useful for everybody. And therefore, analyzing this data and providing insights to the society through proper application of this big data is a real opportunity for the libraries, and many libraries are doing it. Similarly, artificial intelligence is coming in a big way all over the systems, and libraries can make use of the artificial intelligence. Probably the libraries of the future will be definitely making use of artificial intelligence in a big way. Blockchain technologies, Internet of Things, library bookmark applications, user-focused interfaces and applications, augmented reality, digital faces for printed books. These are going to come, these have started coming in libraries. I'm glad that as a country, we are also focusing in a very big way. For example, when we talk about the fourth paradigm of science, it is actually the data, through data analysis, the scientific discovery, achieving scientific discoveries through data, through proper application of data analytics. And therefore, whether it be we have also institutions coming up. Of course, in Bangalore, the CSIR has started a fourth paradigm institute looking at data analytics, not only in science, not all the areas in a very, very big way. So, when I was hearing about e-science. E-science is a fourth paradigm in research. Open science and scholarly communications, cyber infrastructure and big data analytics, research and data management, social media and research, health informatics. All these things are probably definitely giving opportunities for libraries to store this data and disseminate this data in a very big way for enhancing the quality of life and life management systems of all the society all over the world. So increasing the use of data has brought a paradigm shift in the nature of science and scientific research. The greatest challenge for the 21st century science is how we respond to the era of data-intensive science. Beyond the paradigm of experimental, theoretical, and computer simulations of natural phenomena, data-intensive scientific discovery has given rise to a new paradigm, the fourth paradigm of research. This has necessitated the use of new tools, techniques, and ways of thinking. The fourth paradigm, as all of us know, is the journey from data to discovery. Probably experimental research, theoretical research, computational methods, these are been very used, and we have been seeing the promises, we have been seeing the advantages of it. But if you just look at this data analytics and data utilization for more and more discoveries, it is going to promote intensive collaboration among communities. Of course, we have seen how technology has empowered us during the last 10, 11 months. Of course, I am sitting in an institution, in a planning and architecture institution in OT. I came for a physical convocation today here. Actually, after March, 19th March, I am addressing a large audience. Basically, it has happened. I could see how technology has been utilizing it and how people were empowered during this period, how the students and teachers and all of us in the society, including the common man in the society, have been empowered with technology during the last 15 months. As a teacher, I used to say that technology cannot teach, only teachers can teach. Of course, I even now believe that it is true, but it is very important that teachers should use technology in a very big way, and they are going to be the technology makers and technology providers, technology creators. And libraries are in the Indian system. The libraries are doing extremely well to adapt new technologies, right? Whatever new in technology has come, they have made use of it. There is a very effective collaboration between academia, the library system, and also the technological corporates in this area. And let me wish you all the very best. Let me particularly congratulate the people who have participated in the innovation challenge in library systems, and all the presentations were really good. And once again, let me congratulate informatics and the 3 organizations, Karnataka University of Health Sciences and the Fourth Paradigm Institute, who supported this event. And let me wish you all the very best in seeing to it that the library systems in the country and the librarians in this country are going to contribute to to create the data science in a very big way. And the scientists, and in all areas, it's not only in basic sciences or in humanities, in digital humanities, digital geography, in all these areas, this is going to make a great impact. Probably new tools will develop, and this will be an opportunity for scientists and technologists to invent new tools for more effective utilization of data, and libraries will be in the forefront to achieve this target. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me congratulate and thank all of you once again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's really encouraging librarians and librarianship.
I am sitting in a classroom, to be frank. So I came for a convocation. Of course, when Mr. Satyanarayana invited me, I told him I will be giving it in the car most probably, because I have to travel to Cochin for catching a flight to Bombay. So, but then I thought I don't want to risk anything. So the institution, I requested the institution to help me. So I am sitting in a classroom, which is almost vacant now, of the institute, and then made use of this technology. Thank you very much. Of course, it's a great opportunity as a scientist, as an educational administrator. What is that a university can do? What is it that an individual can do? I will be always with you to support this. Mr. Satyanarayana knows me very well in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Actually, your support, your encouragement, and also this LTC since 4 years is creating an conduit for librarians and librarianship to be integrated with academia, to be integrated with research, and also instead of being a silo, it is now getting integrated to all the activities of an institution. Now, it is further giving an encouragement for librarians to actively participate. So last 4 days, it was really an encouraging participation from all over the country, including overseas. More than 320 members who participated in the first day. Then second day it was 250, and also all consistently till the end of the program. Really, our Professor Shalini Aras and Satyanarayana steered this particular LTC 2021 very well.
I have already accepted an invitation to host this event to Mr. Satyanarayana, maybe in the years to come. I do not know by which year, and in the institution in Mumbai, which I am presiding over now.
So now is the time to request Satyanarayana to announce the Informatics Innovation Award. It is named as Informatics Innovation Award among the participation, and also the detailed report is by Satyanarayana. Over to Satyanarayana.
And Dr. Rama, are you ready with the final score?
Yeah. So we are just consolidating. Can I just have a half a minute? Half a minute?
Okay. Yeah. I request our chief guest to make the announcement. The 4 days session is ending today. Like as usual, we say all good things will have to come to an end. And I would not exactly believe that. I would say all good things have the potential to continue year after year. Friends, you just heard from Professor Pillai the valedictory address, and it was a very good summation. You got an idea of his love for libraries and librarians. He has been a great friend of librarians, as Dr. Sidmalaya put it across. Thank you very much, Professor. I just requested him about 3 days ago, saying that it would be very apt if he can make it. And he was traveling to Ooty at that time, where today he had a convocations address to deliver. And he immediately agreed. Yes, I'm very happy to deliver the address. I'm so very happy that we were able to get him. And he's a great scientist in his own rights. And thank you very much, Professor, for being with us, delivering the address and blessing the occasion. And we continue the tradition we have set in the last 5 years. This is the 5th Library Technology Conclave, which you are already aware of. Now, a few words about the conclave, the journey we have had for the last 5 years. And this year particularly is a very memorable year for us. As usual, it was a very tough year, but I must say that during this tough year, we were able to plan the whole thing in a more different way. And thanks to, in some way, the COVID, which forced us to make it virtual. And when we started off, we were wondering how do we go about this? Then we distributed the whole program as a series of webinars, partly in the pre-conclave category and partly in the post-conclave. And as all of you know, we had several pre-conclave sessions starting in November with one of the enlightening lectures by Professor Samir Brahmachari, followed by 2 more lectures and 2 great workshops. And in the last 4 days, we had the conclave session, and all of you have had the opportunity to listen to the speakers, the panelists. It was very engaging in my thinking, since I'm part of the whole conclave, part of the organizing team. It is not for me to talk about too much or boast about it. It is for the audience to really speak about it. And we will send all of you audience. We had about 1,400 registrations. On the inaugural day, we had close to about 375 participants in this, that is about on the inaugural day, which was where the inaugural address was delivered by Dr. Vijay Raghavan, who is the principal scientific advisor to the Government of India. And we also had another excellent speaker who is a pioneer in the area of e-science, and who is also, whose heart is close to the digital libraries, as he himself mentioned that his wife is a librarian, and he gave an excellent lecture giving us an idea of how closely digital libraries are connected with the e-science. So with that, we started off very well, and we had a good number of people attending. And friends in the audience, we will send you a feedback form soon. And please send your feedback, giving us both the positives and the negatives. Your negatives are as much important as critical feedback for us to improve. And when I look back in the last 4 years, the way it evolved, if I were to, give a marks to myself, I would say that if I give 4 marks to our 4 out of 10 marks to our last conclave, in my rating, if I give 4 on a comparison, I would give for the current one 7.5. Now, friends, this big improvement, big change, a big jump in the quality of the program its delivery and all that, it goes to a team, a small core team we have, and it goes to the team. And principally, this credit goes extensively to the person who put together the entire content package, interacting with the several speakers within India and abroad. We have been able to put together with her help. And when I say who it is, Dr. Shalini Aras, almost we have totally almost about 40 plus speakers. And 40, I think in all about 45 speakers, almost about 35% of them were international speakers. And it was an innovative program in the sense we had speakers, panelists, anchors, and we introduced another group called discussants to make the whole program engaging through a more involved interactive process of people asking questions. As you know, when I look back, most of the conferences, physical conferences, end up with the speaker speaking at the end, till the end of the program, with very little time available for audience to ask questions. One thing I am personally extremely happy is the program, the way it is structured, it gave ample time and opportunity for audience to ask questions and engage interactively with the speakers. So to that extent, I'm happy that the program is successful. And this credit certainly goes to the core committee, and Dr. Shalini has put together an excellent program. Now, I would like to thank this core team, and the next, I must thank our organizing partners who came in as knowledge partners. We started with the NIAS, where we wanted to have it as a physical event in the NIAS auditorium. NIAS agreed to join with us, and Professor Sai Baba, who was at NIAS until a couple of days ago, occupying the chair, I think Mr. Pai's chair. I don't remember the initial, founded by the famous Infosys famous Pai in their institute, and his support is really in the initial phase. It gave us a lot of strength to go forward. And since this is a program where e-science and digital libraries we conceived, we looked at this whole program as an opportunity for us to look at digital library as an integral part of the whole integral part of doing science. And the 4 paradigms that is being talked about is all part of doing science, the methodology, scientific methodology. And the role of digital library is something very important. We wanted to convey that message, which we got. In fact, that message is very well given by the person who in the early days, in the first part, during I think during the first decade of the century, who championed it is Jim Gray. One of the articles he wrote, in fact, even in that book, on the 4th paradigm book, there is a specific set of articles on science communication, where there are 2 articles which focuses entirely on digital library. This was somewhere in 2009, 10, I believe. So digital libraries today is not just for digitized books of the library. We would look at digital library in its current expanding version as a dynamically aggregating all digital objects, all knowledge objects, right? So which are made digitally available. So from that angle, I would say that digital libraries have an excellent opportunity, and for the people who are behind the digital library movement, the librarians principally, they have an excellent opportunity to blend and bond with their user community, who are also the creators of information. The scholarly community, as you know, the user is the creator of information, and the library and information science professionals are managers of that information. So this blending and bonding is something, this new paradigm will create an opportunity for through the digital library. So going forward on this, I hope that we have achieved the objective of initiating a process of this blending and bonding. I think Rama gave an idea of the evolution of this award. This year we thought of changing the award name, which I'm sure will continue for years to come, because what is the kind of award it should be something, it has the award and crystallized this year. We called it Informatics Innovation Award. Innovation is very, very important in all walks of life, and more so in the academics and research area. And in fact, I heard in one of the lectures on knowledge transfer and knowledge management, I believe, when the knowledge is transferred by individuals from what they learn in their schools and colleges, and then they move to their workplace, the knowledge transfer from the learning space to the workplace happens significantly by adaptation. That means they adapt, as they adapt to the workspace, they transfer whatever learned. That's much smaller part, maybe about 20%. And a larger part, 48 to 50% of knowledge transfer happens through innovation. This is something I learned some time ago. And so innovation plays a major role in improving the whole productivity itself. That is knowledge workers' performance in the organization. So innovation is very critical, very important for both change and growth through changes. So that is why I thought we must have Informatics Innovation Award for LIS community as the award to follow in future. This is the first year's award, and we will certainly continue this. And for this award, which was announced with the beginning of the conclave, we constituted a team of juries. 4 members are here under the chairmanship of Dr. Anand. Dr. Anand, the Librarian of Indian Institute of Science, could not make it for this conclave, for this program today, due to his engagement in his institution today, some urgent engagement. And this team has worked very hard in getting going through the whole process. More important, setting the criteria, because any award, judgment of the award depends on the criteria and the quality of the assessment based on the criteria. So we have a well-evolved criteria, which will certainly further refine continuously. I would like to thank this team of jury, beginning with Dr. Anand and Dr. Rama, who officiated for Anand today in the case study session, and Dr. Sri Kumar, who moved from IIM Kozhikode to Geo University. Congratulations on that. And Dr. Gopakumar from Goa University, who was our conclave partner 2 years ago, and Dr. Gowda, who was the program chair of the last conclave, and all of you. And thank you very much for accepting our invitation to the jury. And next, friends.
So, Satya, before you announce, I want to say something that, this pandemic has been a blessing in disguise. We never seen so much of innovation in libraries, and the intent has become more, intensive as far as innovation is concerned. So we got to see so many good nominations. I hope informatics will continue to, with this innovation award. Thank you.
Yeah, very much. In fact, we must talk to your director who has written the book on innovation, one of the very nice books, to help us to improve and refine this further. And for this innovation award, we received about 30 innovations from 15 institutions. Some institutions, I think, some institutions gave 2 or more, whatever. And I would be happy to see for the next program, not just 15 institutions giving 30 innovations, at least 100 libraries coming forward to innovate and tell us what they have innovated, which possibly we can continuously publish and publicize more, so that the whole innovation culture will grow and prosper. So friends, it is time for me to thank all of you. To begin with, Professor Pillai for being with us and accepting our invitation in the last minute, and all the audience today who have been with us. And in fact, I was wondering, since it is the last session, whether people will be there. I'm still able to see 160 people still with us, and I'll not take more than another about 3 to 5 minutes. And our core team of members, and it's important for me to tell their name because a very small team, and I'm convinced that small teams can do better than a larger team with this. Starting with our, sorry, I stopped mentioning after NIAS, we have 2 more partners. Dr. Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Dr. Sidmalaya is here. He moved out recently from there. He was a consulting librarian, and their vice chancellor is so keen on informatics, e-science area. They have created in this in their university a Center for Health Informatics, which was conceived by Dr. Sidmalaya. They joined us as knowledge partners. And Fourth Paradigm, CSIR Fourth Paradigm Institute, they were the natural choice for us because one of the CSIR units, it was earlier called Center for Mathematical Modeling and Computational Sciences. That is now renamed as Fourth Paradigm Institute. So all the 3 partners have helped us in putting together this whole function very well. And I would like to thank all our 3 knowledge partners for this success. And the core team, and since I don't want to take too much of time anymore, I just want to mention, working with me are 3 co-chairs. Professor Sai Baba is here. Thank you, Professor Sai Baba. Dr. Mudkavi, Vidyadhar Mudkavi, I'm not sure whether he's here. I would like to thank him extensively for all his help. And third, Dr. Sidmalaya, who is here as another co-chair. I would like to thank you all. And I already mentioned about Dr. Shalini Aras, who put together taking a lot of pains and excellent program. Thank you, Shalini. And the other members of the team, Dr. Gaudar, Dr. Meera, and Dr. Hamsa from NIAS, plus 3 members from my team in the company, Mr. Sanjay Grover, our CEO, Mr. Devendra Thakur, one of our directors, and Soji Matthew, one of our colleague managers. So I would like to thank all these core team members. And of course, as usual, I forget a lot, and if I keep on remembering, it will take longer. And forgive me if I have left any names. And I would like to once again thank all of you. And one of the important announcements I would like to make, a very happy and a pleasant one. Sure. Yeah. Before making this announcement, I would like to complete the award announcement. Professor, have you got it now?
Please.
Can you
Yeah,
make
he has
that
got it.
announcement?
First of all, let me congratulate all the participants today in the innovation contest. Let me also thank the juries for a very judicious selection of the participants and for the award. Of course, we have two awards. The Informatics and Innovation Award under University category goes to Birla Institute of Technology and Sciences for innovations for the project on Innovation Zone and Makerspace. Congratulations to the team.
Congratulations, Dr. Giridhar.
Yeah,
we are so happy.
Yeah,
and also, I'm so happy to see you virtually, at least after a long time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Same here, Satya. It is very nice to meet you and Dr. Sidhumalaya here. And also, I'm extremely happy to have received this, and it's a great honor for BITS Pilani. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
Congratulations once again. Under the college category, the award, the Informatics Innovation Award goes to Gayatri Vidya Parishad College of Engineering.
Thank you, sir. Thank you much.
Innovation is on development of mobile application for access in remote location. Congratulations to the team. Congratulations.
What's the name of the person?
Mr. Ravi.
Ravi. Thank you, sir. Thank you, jury, and he is there.
So,
great honor for me and my institute.
Okay.
But all informatics supporting me. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The award plaque will be sent to you. The award plaque can be ready only after we know the names. Now, we will be bringing it in to present it to you very soon, and you will be informed about it. And I would also like to thank all the audience who have enthusiastically voted for it. With this, I would like to, as the last point, make a very happy announcement. Our next Library Technology Conclave 2022, Professor Pillai has agreed to be our host partner. Thank you very much, Professor. I would like to thank you on behalf of Informatics and on behalf of all the audience sitting here. And your enthusiasm and inspiration will certainly make our LTC 2022 a great success. I'm sure we'll be able to make it a more innovative program with excellent physical infrastructure you have in Vidya Vihar University. Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much. You're all welcome, invited to the Somaiya Vidya Vihar University, Mumbai. We are a 40,000 students institution, 40,000. Around 2,000 teachers are there. 15 libraries, institutional libraries, and one university library is going to be developed now. It will be on a hub and spokes model, this university library, and definitely I will be getting inputs from each and every one of you. Maybe for how should be the future libraries? Probably we will host a meeting also from our side. How should be the future libraries after this COVID situation is over? We will be inviting many of you to have input for the future libraries. And this is for taking inputs for creating a state-of-the-art library in a hub and spokes model, the university library and the institutional libraries, making use of modern technologies. We are a university, we are 70 years old in education. So for the last 70 years, we have been running education institutions. But we got a university status just 2 years ago after my joining. I am getting also not only the university, the entire Somaiya Vidya Vihar and Somaiya Ayur Vihar institutions. We have two big campuses in the city of Mumbai, one in Ghatkopar, Mr. Satyanarayana has visited that Ghatkopar near the Lokmanya Tilak terminal station, and another in Sion. It is called Ayurveda because we are concentrating on education and health. Our philosophy is that if we provide basic education and basic health, society will be empowered. And that is the philosophy of our institution. And definitely we will be in dialogue on the conduct of this conclave as well as for the building of our institutions, university library and institutions library.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So with this, friends, we have now, having announced the next conclave, the date also will remain same in January. As all of you know, we started this conclave, when we started, we see the date of January 23 to 25. So we will mostly keep this conclave the same date, and we'll make that announcement much later. And now we have the challenge of making the next conclave far more successful than the current conclave. So this conclave, particularly in terms of the content and the innovative method, has set us a new benchmark. We'll have to surpass that. With this, I would like to thank one and all. In case I have forgotten anybody's name in any group, please forgive me for that. And I look forward to the support and help and cooperation of all of you who actively work with us in this conclave, and all the audience who participated. And my message and request to all the audiences, please join in several fold in the coming conclave. And the conclave venue that is just announced is a very large venue which has a very large capacity. And the next conclave will make it a good blend of physical plus virtual. Thank you all. Thanks to each one of you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.